Reddit, what is your most cringe story about someone who had/has a crush on you? Pretty sure I've told this story here before. In the 7th grade I was a very awkward child. Kinda chubby, no fashion sense, and my face generally resembled a gorilla. I had already accepted the fact that boys weren't going to like me. One day I was hanging out with a guy friend, Richard. Richard was a sweet kid and pretty cute, and I'd met him through another friend. It was just Richard and me chilling in a hallway when he suddenly asked me to the school dance that was happening on Friday. I couldn't believe it. A cute guy had just asked me to a dance. Are you sure this is real life? Say yes, you idiot, say yes. So of course I did what any reasonable 13-year-old girl would do, I screamed and ran away. Richard didn't want to hang out with me again after that, and I still feel bad about to this day, a decade later. I managed a cafe that was located about an hour something drive from my house. There was this guy who had it really bad for me. He came in a couple of times a day and refused to be served by any of my staff, just me. Anyway, as if that wasn't bad enough. One day during the winter it got very icy, so I decided to not drive home, but stay in a B&B instead. Safety end. Don't ask me how, but he found out and stayed in the same B&B. Was woken up by him banging on my door. When I open, he stands there fuming about how I don't trust him, or why else would I lock the door to my room during the night. Now, who doesn't lock the door in a B&B? Also, well, Dio. Guess what? He obviously tried the door. What the what? Also, by the time I made it to work the next morning, 2-minute walk from the B&B, he had already managed to tell a good portion of the townies we had spent the night together. This guy actually scared the crap out of me. I regularly passed up other people working on the same street to not have to walk to the parking lot alone. When I was in the 4th grade, I remember having the biggest crush on a girl in my PE class. Having thought things through, I decided that I needed her to know my undying love for her. So I wrote her a note to deliver to her in PE. So finally, when we're all sitting in our grid formation on the gym floor, I decide the time has come. I get up and start walking to the fountain. She is in between, and I planned on just dropping her the note en route. However, in the 5 seconds between me getting up and when I am to drop the note off, I decide that this is too easy, I must give her a challenge. I then proceed to the water fountain with a new plan. As soon as I get there, I plunge the note into the water, creating a wet squishy mess that resembles a white piece of. My logic at this point in my life was that the wet paper would create a situation in which she would have to spend some time decoding the note. By making the note harder to read, she would undoubtedly be impressed. On the way back to my seat, I dropped the white piece of off with her. As you can probably guess, she didn't know what in God's name it was. She just stared at it on the gym floor for a second with her mouth open. Before she could say anything, I hightailed it back to my seat. She not once ever spoke to me again. I think it is safe to assume that she did not decode the message. TLDR, I once tried to tell a crush that I loved her by writing a note, soaking it in water, scrunching it up like a turd, and dropping it on the floor in front of her. My work started using a program that began hiring ex-cons. One of the guys hired through this program started showing interest in me. I wasn't attracted to him at all and made it clear to him, repeatedly. Long story short, he got fired 3 months later but kept coming around the store to visit his friends. I go out to my car to read during lunch like normal, and there's a creepy metal and mesh flower on my windshield. I look around the parking lot to see who could have left it and see no one. I threw it into a grassy area and forget about it. I read through my lunch hour and go inside, and no sooner than I clock in, I hear a page that I have a phone call. It's him. All he says is, "You look so pretty when you're reading." I hung up immediately and told the manager. He kept doing more things that escalated the creepiness. I ended up getting an emergency restraining order against him when I found out he added me as an emergency contact with his parole officer. I didn't even know him. I have one that makes it seem like some guys never really grow out of that awkward high school crush phase. A couple of years ago I worked the counter at a Chinese restaurant. They were a fairly busy place right beside my house and I would work for a few hours almost every day after school to get them through the rush. As a result, I had a lot of regulars who I recognized and I behaved in a very friendly, familiar way with many customers. One guy would come in around 9 p.m. once every couple of weeks and was very quiet. I would give him his food and he would stammer out a thank you and make terrified, jutting all over the place eye contact during our interaction. This was no problem. He seemed like a normal middle-aged man. One night he picked up his takeout bag and somehow managed to get his finger snagged under a staple and cut himself. He started bleeding pretty profusely and I grabbed some napkins, trying to help him, but he kept playing it off and just booked it out of there. The next day I get to work and a bunch of my customers are telling me they heard about me on the radio. Apparently, this guy was a very popular morning radio DJ and he had been talking about a girl he gets takeout from and is completely in love with for months. He would mock all of his awkward interactions with me and profess his love and how beautiful he thought I was, and I guess that in telling the most recent staple story he revealed that I worked at a Chinese takeout place and a ton of my customers/co-workers put it together. Everyone was recounting all of these cringy, humiliating things that the guy had done while picking up food from me that I'd barely noticed or remembered. It was so weird. I felt like a tabloid celebrity. He kept coming in and I never told him that I knew he made a habit of mentioning me on the air, but I did try really hard to make sure our interactions went smoothly and to bolster his social confidence a little. Not sure if crush or just crazy, but anyway. So I met this girl at a bar. Nice girl, cute blonde, typical college type. I exchanged numbers with her thinking we could hang out again. Fast forward to a few days later, when we were just texting back and forth setting up a date. Her, how's tonight sound for you? Me, I can't, I'm meeting my friend for drinks because she's leaving town. Her, wait, you didn't tell me you were seeing other girls. I thought we had something going on. I'm sorry I can't do this, please stop texting me. I just told her I'm meeting a good friend whom I've known for years and she refuses to listen. So I thought, great, I dodged a real crazy bullet right there. Then she texts me saying she wants to meet again, and I said no, because she was being a little crazy and making me uncomfortable. Here are some of the best, creepy, texts that she sent next. No, I won't stop texting you until you explain to me why you won't come out and see me. I already told her she was being overreactive and making me uncomfortable and I lost interest. Do us a favor and stop being an. Why can't you put the past behind and give us a second chance? Forgiveness is a virtue. Just pretend that never happened and we can be happy together. I'll give you a day to get over it. We don't have to meet immediately. We can text and see how we feel, I am in no rush. You need to learn how Americans work, you're obviously just being rude like all other Asians. I'm so glad iOS 7 has a built-in block feature now. I'm still keeping the texts in case something happens to me in future. My time to shine. So I had a problem in high school and that problem was that I would attract really creepy boys. Like ones who would publicly declare their love for me and follow me around boys. Not good. But the one that tops the cake was this guy Tony. I had known him for a while but we had never really talked until one day when he started messaging me about his problems on Facebook. I was like, this is kind of weird but maybe he's just lonely. We become better friends and one night we are talking and he tells me that he's really into me and would like to kiss me. At this point I had a boyfriend that I was crazy about so I told him it was nice but I had a boyfriend. Bam, 2 days later my boyfriend broke up with me. Tony calls me up to comfort me that night being all nice and telling me how beautiful I am and how much he cares about me. The next day he walks me to and from every class, wants to hang out after school, texts me all day. Now I am not interested in dating him at all and having just broken up with my boyfriend I tell him that I appreciate everything he's done for me but I am not interested in dating him or anyone for a while. Yes you are. You owe me. Excuse me. There is no way you would put up with all my if you weren't interested, and besides I was there for you when your boyfriend broke up with you. Turns out Tony had a history of being emotionally abusive to former girlfriends and he was extremely manipulative. This was the beginning of threats of suicide if I didn't date him, following me to around school and drunk texts and calls in the middle of the night. It finally ended when he told me to be his girlfriend or he would move away and wreck his life. I told him good luck and he did. Last I heard he was in jail for having with a minor.